I am going to teach you one tiny tip that's going to change your writing instantly and elevate it immensely. I did this mistake myself for many, many, many years, and this really, really, really did change the way that I was writing. And, it's a kind of a short story that I'll tell you. There I sit writing, ignorantly writing one day, having fun, thinking my writing rules. It's great. And suddenly I'm using this new Grammarly engine thing that, points out where writing's bad and stuff like that. I was using Pro Writing 8, or no, it was Grammarly actually. And I got this squiggly line under something that I'd written, and it said, hey, you're using passive voice. Try changing it to the active voice. And I go, what the hell is that? What's a passive voice? And I realized that I could be writing stuff a lot more engagingly, which is a word, I hope. Anyway, so when I noticed that this editor, or whatever you would call it, really helped me with changing and removing most of the time was the word was. Removing the word was changed my writing so much. Like an easy way of thinking is it's so easy to tell, not show when you write was. So for instance, just a quick example, I could, for example, write, she was scared. And I tell the reader that she's scared. Now you know that she's scared. But I realized quickly that there's no easy way to just remove all the was's in my book, because when I was gonna change, I hate that word. When I was gonna change the word was in the sentence, she was scared. I couldn't just, there's not a recipe to apply. And I had to start thinking, using my brain. I had to go, for example, her fingers trembled, or her face turned pale, which is a lot more engaging for the reader. And I have some examples. I'm going to go through and we're going to work through them, and you're going to see how there's no easy fix ever. But I think that's part of the craft, right? That's part of being a writer, is that you have to actually write. So if you're a novice or an experienced writer, but you write too much was, or maybe you just become more aware, we're going to show you how different methods I've developed to try to deal with it. Everything is sort of tailored to each sentence that you're going to write, but it's not as easy as you think to just remove all the was's, because it's not like just you're using your commas wrong and then you just change that and one template applies everywhere. You actually have to think. Instead of writing that he was happy, you might write that his eyes came alight and his face and a smile flashed across his face, and then you show them instead. So this is more powerful than you think. You might think that now you got everything you need, and maybe you do with this already, but I will try to work. I have some examples from my unpublished book, the third book in a series, and I'm just stealing this. These are examples from the first chapter only, because I wrote this many years ago, and I knew I'd find a lot of this was problem here. So we're going to go through them. I'm going to write them. So we're going to start with the first example, which is males, females, even children. No slave was spared. Now, even here, like I'm even told, hey, passive verbs make your writing less direct. Try to use an active verb instead. Now, we can use this as well. See what this is. This is Pro Writing 8, by the way. It's pretty good. So we're going to try to fix this one right now. Males, females, even children. No slave was spared. You can do, they can do as easy as this. They spared no slave, or slaves, right? This is better. No slave. I'm just telling you, but they spared no. Now it's more active immediately. You see that? Just that little change there. Just that little change there is way better. Males, females, even children. They spared no slaves. It sounds more terrifying than no slave was spared. By who? Now you know they. Whoever they are, it's more intimidating, right? Because whoever they are, they spare no slaves. You could do it in other ways too, probably. Maybe maybe you can even improve upon it. Males, females, even children. You could be more brutal. They killed them regardless, right? Right? Even better. Now yeah, okay. So like that. I need help, apparently. They killed them regardless. This is a pretty nice fix. This is a pretty nice fix for this. Let's go on to example 2. Now, you see here, there's no squiggly line below, right? So it's not flagging it. But I don't like this. The white culture was sickening. Now, white is a species of subhuman in this book, and they're incredibly pale, and they drink blood and bathe in blood, and they have so many slaves. It's a terrible, terrible culture. So the white culture was sickening, but perhaps she could change it as the ruler. That's the easy fix for this is doing this one. Culture, and you just do like this. The white culture sickened her. Now it is better. That is better. The white culture sickened her, but perhaps she could change it as the ruler. That is better. However, you're still sort of telling and not showing. I do think it's better because we're not saying she was sickened, but maybe we could change it even more. Maybe we should show it somehow with perhaps like, okay, maybe something like this, right? Seeing the brutality of the whites that made her turn away, right? Now, this came from wanting to change the was, right? See how much the sentence has improved already? Seeing the brutality of the white society made her turn away. Now, I'm showing you that she's turning away because it's horrific. But I'm not telling you that you're left to sort of infer why she's turning away. But it's because of the brutality. So you're showing the reader how she finds this repulsive, right? You may even you can drag it further, wiping away a tear, something like this, or seeing the brutality of the white society made her puke. That because then it's so terrible. That is a great way to fix that sentence. And you go from the white culture was sickening. Why is it sickening? Why? I don't get it. But when you say seeing the brutality of white society made her turn away, well, it's something to do with the brutality at least. Now, of course, you can even explain it even more. Like if she's there, you could describe like someone gutting someone with a knife and drinking their blood, and that's why she turned away, not able to handle the sight. Then you're actually really showing it. That's not fitting here because she's far away seeing this, sort of taking it in. There's no like one singular event, but you could expand upon this a lot. Just don't make it like very like superfluous and info dumpy. It's very important. But this is a good way of fixing this one. Let's move to the third example. She felt like a traitor, and she was. But history was written by the winners, and the whites would win. Now, you see here, it's also flagged by Pro Writing Aid. Pro Writing Aid is really good. I really like it. It's the best one I've tried so far. She felt like a traitor, and she was. But the winners wrote history, and the whites would win. Now that is actually a pretty good solution already, and it sort of fixes it right there and then, right? This reads a lot better. She felt like a traitor, and she was. But the winners wrote history, and the whites would win. That is pretty good. Could we do it in another way? She felt like a traitor. Because I want to remove this was as well. So I'm not actually satisfied. And you could go, which was true. But then I have the was. You see how this isn't necessarily easy. Like, don't think you're going to take this tool, this amazing tool of removing the wases around, and just doing it like this, right? You actually need to work. But that is the craft, right? That's why we're doing this. This one is tougher to solve. Right. Okay, this is better. So I think this one is better. I had to work a little bit on this, and you could probably improve more. Please share in the comments if you could write these sentences even better and show me how to do it even better. I'd like that. That'd be fun. I will read the comments, I swear. She felt like a traitor, and she was. But history was written by the winners, and the whites would win. It's better this way. She felt like a traitor, and humanity would always deem her so. But the winners wrote history, and the whites would win. It just flows a lot better when you remove the wases there, right? She felt like a traitor, and humanity would always deem her so. That's more telling, right? Instead of saying she felt like a traitor, and she was. It's grander now, and humanity will always deem her so. It's against humanity, right? It's more telling. It colors the story a lot more immediately right away. That's why I like that a lot. Now we have example 4. Slave racks were raised all around the room, where pale and thin slaves were locked around their necks. What? Yeah, right. Where pale and thin slaves were locked around their necks. This is a terrible sentence because it sounds like some slave racks had slaves locked around their necks. This is a horrible sentence. But even here it says, right, this is passive. Slave racks were raised all around the room. Now, okay, I try to do it like this. This is not the finished product yet. I just want to show you how a process could be. Now try to fix it to thin and pale slaves had been chained by their necks to racks positioned all around the room. Now, this is also inactive and passive, right? Because it says had been. Now this one's not working, but it says it is passive still, right? So I'm still working on this. It's hard. The passive here is had been. So I need to change this a lot more. get this to work, right? So we're going to try to fix this even more, right? So here is another good fix. I think this one is better. So I sort of had to restructure the sentence altogether. And that's what this does, right? Forcing you to remove the was forces you to think. And it has really helped me grow as an author a lot. So the original sentence was, slave racks were raised all around the room where pale and thin slaves were locked around their necks. Terrible sentence. Tight metal collars bit into the necks of the slaves chained to the slave racks around the room. That's more colorful immediately, right? Tight metal collars bit into the necks of the slaves, right? I think that is a better fix. You could probably, this is a tough sentence to fix. If you've got a better solution, please let me know. If you want to, you can see how much time you want to spend on that one. But I think this is a pretty good fix. I'd have that in my book for sure. For sure. Yeah. Absolutely. I'm not like a Patrick Rothfuss who's stuck for ages. Okay, we're going to move on to the last example, which is, it's not as bad, and it's simpler. And that is, she tried not to let it bother her, which was easier with a mask. And you can do that in many ways, fixing this one. So I'm going to do that now. Okay. So I think this is a pretty good fix. It starts out the same. She tried not to let it bother her. That's the same, which was easier with a mask. Now, we changed that to, she tried not to let it bother her, putting on the golden mask to conceal her pale face and horrified eyes. That is way more engaging immediately. And also, you could be like, oh, but you added golden, that makes the sentence better. You could do that in the previous sentence as well, but I couldn't, because then it was like this, which was easier with a golden mask, which makes it seem that because it's golden, that's what makes it easier. Like if it was a black mask, obsidian mask, or silver mask, or bronze mask, then it wouldn't. And you see, that's also what happens when you have to think like this. You add more details to sort of color out your world a bit more, give it a bit more vibrancy and such like that. So when you go putting on the golden mask to conceal her pale face and horrified eyes, that is way more showing, right? I'm showing you that she's pale, that she's horrified, and it's all because I wanted to remove, which was easier with a mask. 100 times better immediately, way better written. And that's it, guys, right? Removing was from your story. You could have it somewhere, and some place you need to have it. But every time I write was now, I consider if I could write it another way. Now, and one that's really usual is, the most usual one is like stuff like this. These occur the most, and I really hate this. I struggle reading books that uses this too much. Stuff like, he was spinning, she was attacking, he was running. Just change it to he spun, right? She attacked, right? He ran. These are better. They are less inactive. They're more active immediately. You remove, she was attacking with a sword. She attacked with a sword. Way different, way punchier immediately. I really can't stress enough how much I hate these. If I start, like, he was writing to them, he wrote to them. Immediately, it's more engaging. That's like a quick, easy fix, and there actually is like a template, one size fits all. When it's for longer sentences, like what we showed over, it's not like that. That's not the case. But he was running, he ran. That's easy. The lowest of low-hanging fruits that there are. I really, really hope that you enjoyed this. Please click like. I really like that. And please write me a comment. What do you think about this? Do you agree with this writing? Do you think was is completely fine? I don't, but do you? Do you think what I wrote is stupid? Please let me know that as well. I read and cry about every single comment. Thank you so much. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you later.